Leeds United's transfer window might not have ended as people wanted. Everyone wanted a little bit more in, as is to be expected, because, I mean, we're football fans, of course we do, and so did the manager, so everyone sort of assumed that something would happen. But there's a little bit of news that has emerged yesterday, specifically surrounding a move that we might get done in January, and it links to some news that hasn't really been mentioned anywhere up until now around the same move and why nothing happened on deadline day. So, in this video, I'm going to cover what the news update from deadline day was. I'm going to cover what the news update now is, and ultimately what that might mean for Leeds United going forwards. But there's a lot to consider, and yeah, let's see where we end up. Before I get into all of that, I'd hugely appreciate if you could pop a like on the video, subscribe, become a channel member, all that kind of stuff, and especially comment. Apparently commenting is really, really good, because the algorithm is broken, and it means that videos just aren't getting pushed out right now. So comment your thoughts, guys. Hey, and I might be able to keep doing YouTube. But we're going to start with the little bit of behind-the-scenes drama that happened at Krasnodar when it came to the whole stuff around Eduard Spertsyan. Spertsyan is an Armenian footballer who Leeds United have been fairly consistently linked with for the past couple of seasons now. He's a very, very, very good player, but we'll get into all that a little bit later. The day before deadline day, he was playing for Krasnodar against CSKA Moscow, and he did pretty damn well. I think they eventually won the match in spite of the fact that the striker that Spertsyan plays behind got sent off, which obviously makes it quite hard to score any more goals, but his captaincy managed to make sure that they were able to win that match. Since then, he's played for Armenia a couple of times, including against Ireland, and that match was frankly hilarious because he just absolutely pulled them apart. But the behind-the-scenes Krasnodar drama is specifically relating to that match against CSKA Moscow. So during this period is when Leeds United are looking at the various 10 options. They're saying, who are we able to potentially sign on deadline day, and what does that mean for the club going forwards? And this includes reaching out to Krasnodar about Spertsyan. However, because they've got a match on that day, Spertsyan is sort of stuck in this sort of bubble, the bubble of the squad, in which he's focusing on the game ahead of him and ultimately how to beat CSKA Moscow, which they do eventually manage to do. So Leeds United reach out to Krasnodar. We've heard this from Krasnodar's end, and Krasnodar say that Leeds didn't meet the valuation or something along those lines. The general idea from the Leeds side is that Leeds didn't believe that the player was interested. I've heard since that the take from the player's side is that the player himself was not informed that Leeds United had an interest in him. So the way that this timeline works is during match day, Leeds United reach out to Krasnodar, say, look, we've got a little bit of an interest in signing Eduard Spertsyan. Can we get it done? Krasnodar stay silent to Spertsyan and do not tell him there is any interest. In the post-match, when Spertsyan still hasn't had a chance to have any conversations with anybody, Spertsyan is asked sort of about his future, what is expected to happen with him for the rest of the season, and because deadline day is tomorrow, and because he doesn't think anyone is in for him, he tries to rebuild that relationship with the fans and says, "Yeah, I expect I'll be playing at Krasnodar for not for the rest of the season, but for the next period of time until at the very least January." Leeds, as a result of this, get the message that Spertsyan isn't necessarily interested, which means that Leeds withdraw their interest, in spite of the fact that Spertsyan probably is interested, because we've heard yesterday that Spertsyan's agent has said that he'll likely be moving in January. So all of this sort of adds up to the fact that, whilst Leeds United didn't get that move done, there's a pretty damn good reason, and the reason is Krasnodar, because everything that I've heard about Krasnodar is that they're a little bit of a not very nice club to play for in the kindest way possible. Their owner is still under sanctions from the UK government and a bunch of other Western states, and in addition to all of that, he's very much a bit of an egotist. He doesn't want to be seen to be selling to a league that is worse than the Russian league, which is why they couldn't sell to Southampton earlier in the window, because he didn't want to sell to a championship side. Would have been relatively happy selling to the Premier League, but didn't communicate this to Spertsyan in the slightest when it came to sort of crunch time, which means that Leeds were sort of like, okay, we'll pull out of this one because we almost certainly don't have time to sort out the financial side of signing a player from Russia. But there is a significantly increased chance that he'll find a move in January because his agent has basically said, we expect him to move. The same for another player that works under the agent. I can't quite remember his name. Russian striker, doing really, really well. He scored something like 9 goals so far this season. But there is apparently a range of interest in Eduard Spertsyan, expected to include Leeds United. Now, this includes everything from being on scouting lists to being part of active inquiries, which I personally believe Leeds United were a part of, from everything that I've heard from specifically the Armenian side. But it's also from more than just the Premier League. It's from Ligue 1, La Liga, the Bundesliga, Serie A. All over the place. Various clubs have that interest in Spertsyan, and that means that if we're going to sign him, we might as well try and get it done now. Because the moment he finds his way into a top 5 league, I have a feeling that he's absolutely going to make waves. Because the numbers that he's putting out in the Russian league are absolutely transformational. They're ridiculous. He's got something like 13 or 11 or something like that. He's got more goal involvements than he's got games played, and that's whilst holding the same duties as a captain at the same time. Genuinely spectacular footballer that will change the game wherever he is playing. Therefore, all of these different clubs that have an interest in him are going to be wanting to sign him. And one of the best things about him is that he's relatively affordable. Russian clubs are kind of struggling for cash at the minute, as you might be able to tell. And whilst we can't actually give the clubs the cash, what we can do is we can send it to a trust that once the sanctions regimes end, the clubs get that money, which is significantly better than them going, okay, so we'll just have nothing, I suppose. So, in essence, right now is the time to sign him. And the estimated numbers were something around, I think someone mentioned 15 million euros to me at one point, maybe 17 million euros, which is probably affordable. And he's a very, very high end player at the same time. And the moment he moves to a top 5 league, he stops being affordable because those sides can afford to hold on to him for longer and they can increase the interest because he's showing himself off on a bigger stage. For me, it would be a mistake if we didn't try to make a move for a 10 in January, whether that's Spertsyan, who I'm getting a little bit attached to at this point, I've just noticed. But whether that's Spertsyan, who is a spectacular number 10 that can do a lot of hard work, or Strykens, who can play as an 8, who can play as a 10, who can play on the wings, but doesn't quite fit into the age bracket that we typically tend to aim for, reinforcing the squad makes a hell of a lot of sense. And in my opinion, Eduard Spertsyan is the player that it makes a hell of a lot of sense to reinforce with. In addition to that, he's not just a pure 10. Like, he plays in the 6 a bit, he plays in the 8 a bit. It was from 6/8 that he pulled Ireland to shreds. Talk to Jer about that when he really enjoyed watching that game. But yeah, at the end of the day, what I think is that we should probably get that move done. And if we do, we will massively benefit for a long time to come. But as always, that's what I think. If you want to support the channel, I'd really, really like to hear what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't yet, and you can even become a channel member if you fancy. It's massively appreciated. It means you get videos like this one a little bit early. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Toodaloo. I really want Spertsyan, man. Really, really well-timed take up. Really badly want Spertsyan. Please, just bring him. Bring him. Please. Free. Well, hashtag free Spertsyan in the comments. Why not? Sod it. Toodaloo.